Welcome to Starkon Studio, the home of dark truths, real mysteries, and stories that refuse to die. And today, we go back to 1959, deep into the snow-covered heart of Soviet Russia. It began as a dream. 10 young students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Sverdlovsk, Russia, strong, intelligent, passionate about adventure, planned a trek through the Ural Mountains, aiming to earn their Grade 3 hiking certification. Among them was Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student and the group's experienced leader. They left on January 23, 1959. All were full of life: jokes, photos, songs, journal entries. Their spirits were high despite the harsh cold of the Russian winter. The group included Zinaida Kolmogorova, energetic and kind; Rustem Slobodin, calm and athletic; Lyudmila Dubinina, bold and outspoken; Yuri Doroshenko, strong-willed; Alexander Kolovatov, thoughtful and quiet; Yuri Krivonishenko, the group's prankster; Nikolai Thibault-Brignol, charming and smart; Semyon Zolotaryov, older, mysterious, a last-minute addition; and Yuri Yudin, the 10th hiker, the only one who would live. Yuri Yudin had to turn back on January 28th due to health issues. He hugged his friends goodbye, not knowing he'd never see them alive again. The remaining 9 hiked forward. On February 1st, they reached the slope of Kholat Syakhl, a Mansi word meaning mountain of the dead. Weather worsened. Visibility dropped. Instead of heading to the shelter of the nearby forest, they made camp, right on the exposed slope. That was the last time anyone heard from them. Days passed. Families grew worried. Rescue teams were formed. And then, on February 26th, a rescue party discovered something no one expected. The tent, half buried in snow, slashed from the inside. No footprints leading in, only out. Bare footprints in the snow, leading into the forest. In the coming minutes, we'll dive into what they found in those woods, the bodies, their bizarre injuries, and the chilling theories that have haunted experts for over 60 years. From military experiments, to secret weapons, to something not quite human. You're listening to Starkon Studio. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident. February 26, 1959. The Dyatlov group's tent is found, torn open from the inside. Boots, jackets, even socks left behind. 9 skilled hikers, fleeing barefoot into the icy dark. Why? Following the prints, the rescuers descend toward the forest edge, and there, beneath a tall cedar tree, they discover the first horror. Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. Their bodies lie in the snow, barefoot, wearing only underwear. Their hands, shredded, flesh torn from their fingertips as if they'd clawed at the bark, trying desperately to climb the tree. Burns mark their skin, and the tree, its branches are broken 6 meters high. Nearby, they find the ashes of a small fire, but not enough to save them from the minus 30 degrees Celsius cold. Then they find the tent crew, scattered across the slope. Igor Dyatlov, their leader, frozen with fists clenched facing back toward camp. Zinaida Kolmogorova, her face bruised, arms stretched forward. Rustem Slobodin, with a fractured skull. 3 more, all trying to return to the tent. But the most shocking discovery comes 2 months later, under 4 meters of snow, in a nearby ravine. Lyudmila Dubinina, Semyon Zolotaryov, Alexander Kolovatov, and Nikolai Thibault-Brignol. Alexander's neck is twisted, his nose missing. Nikolai's skull crushed with a force comparable to a car crash. But Lyudmila, her ribs are shattered, her eyes are missing, her tongue is gone. No blood in the snow, no signs of struggle, just silence and snow. All their clothes, strangely radioactive, and the patterns of death, they make no sense. Some were nearly naked, some were wearing others' clothing, some seemed to die violently, others just gave up and froze. What happened that night? What made 9 experienced hikers flee barefoot into a blizzard? An avalanche, no trace, Mansi tribe attack, no signs of violence or struggle, secret military tests, or something even darker. The Soviet government quickly closed the case. Final report: a compelling natural force caused the deaths. No further explanation, no follow-up, and the files? Sealed for decades. But rumors spread. Witnesses claimed the bodies had orange skin, white hair, strange lights in the sky. Was it a weapon? A UFO? 9 hikers, no survivors, no clear cause of death, and one chilling phrase in the official Soviet report: a compelling natural force. But what kind of force makes people flee into a blizzard, barefoot, and die in horrifying, unnatural ways? Over the decades, investigators, journalists, and conspiracy theorists have all asked the same question: what really happened on that mountain? Theory 1: secret military tests. Soviet archives from the 1950s remain largely sealed, but declassified fragments suggest that the Ural Mountains were a testing ground for parachute mines, infrasound weapons, and even radiation-based experiments. Some believe the Dyatlov group camped in the wrong place, right in the path of a classified military operation. Witnesses in nearby villages reported strange orange spheres in the sky that night. Official radar logs? Redacted. And then there's the radiation. Dubinina and Zolotaryov's clothing showed abnormally high levels. The Soviet Union brushed it off, but radiation doesn't just appear on jackets without reason. Theory 2: avalanche. In 2019, Russian officials reopened the case. Their conclusion: a slab avalanche. They claimed the hikers cut into the snow slope, triggering a delayed collapse. The panic caused them to flee the tent. But experts disagree. There was no debris, no signs of snow crushing the tent. And if it was an avalanche, why did they walk away in orderly footsteps, not run? And why did some die with massive internal injuries, while others froze peacefully in the snow? Theory 3: infrasound, the sound you can't hear, but can feel. In 2003, researcher Dani Ichar proposed that Kármán vortex streets, wind patterns around the mountain, could have created low-frequency infrasound. These frequencies can cause panic, hallucinations, and irrational behavior. Could this sound have driven the hikers mad with fear, enough to tear out of the tent and flee into the dark? Theory 4: Mansi tribe attack. The Mansi were native to the area. Some speculated that the hikers may have trespassed on sacred land. But this theory collapses quickly. The Mansi helped with the search. There were no signs of a struggle, and forensic reports showed no defensive wounds. Theory 5: extraterrestrial encounter. Some point to the glowing orange orbs, the missing tongue and eyes, and the radioactive clothing as signs of a possible alien encounter. Unbelievable? Maybe, but multiple locals and geologists reported strange lights in the sky during those exact nights. And the final photographs taken by the hikers? Blurry images, dark shapes, and a final frame showing a glowing blur in the sky. And then there's the final theory, the most haunting of all. What if it wasn't the mountain, wasn't weapons, wasn't aliens? What if something found them? Something beyond science, something that lives in the frozen dark and waits. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass remains a place of mystery. Tourists still visit, investigators still debate. But the truth? It lies buried beneath snow and silence. Time passed. Snow melted, but the pain, it never did. 9 young lives lost on a mountain, but for every body buried, a family was left behind, searching, questioning, and never truly healing. Let's begin with Yuri Yudin, the only member of the Dyatlov group who survived, not because of luck, because of illness. Days before the final climb, Yuri fell ill with rheumatism and turned back. He said goodbye to his friends, not knowing it would be for the last time. For the rest of his life, Yudin carried that burden, the guilt of survival. He visited the graves, met with investigators, and when interviewed in his final years, he said something haunting. If I had gone with them, maybe I would have died too. But at least I would have known the truth. Back in Sverdlovsk, families were told their children died in a tragic accident, but when they saw the bodies, they knew something was wrong. Lyudmila Dubinina's mother fainted when she saw her daughter's body. Her tongue was missing, eyes gone, ribs crushed inward as if hit by a truck, yet not a scratch on the skin. She demanded answers. She never got any. For years, the Soviet government silenced discussion of the case. Doctors were warned not to speak. Journalists were told it was closed. And the families? They were left with rumors and grief. In 1990, after the Soviet Union collapsed, survivors and relatives began speaking out again, and so did independent researchers. Photographs taken from the hikers' cameras were released. Final shots show the group setting up camp, joking, then eerie blurs. One photo appears to capture a bright orb in the sky. Another shows a shadowy figure on the ridge. Who or what it was, we may never know. In 2019, after renewed public pressure, the Russian Prosecutor General's office reopened the case, but they limited their investigation to natural causes only. Within months, they released their conclusion, a slab avalanche, nothing more. But the families, and even some geologists, rejected the explanation. Alexei Rakitin, a former Russian investigator, told reporters, "This was not a normal avalanche. The injuries do not match. The evidence was tampered with. This case is a cover-up." And in 2020, a new Netflix documentary introduced the Dyatlov story to a global audience. Modern mountaineers and physicists recreated the scene, and while some support the avalanche theory, others insist the footprints, the radiation, the trauma, they still don't add up. Even today, new evidence continues to surface. Old diaries, misplaced documents, and forgotten film rolls. Private letters from soldiers stationed nearby hint at classified activities the same night the hikers died. And in 2022, an amateur researcher found a scrap of tent canvas with an unusual burn pattern, as if scorched from within by intense heat. Coincidence? Or one more puzzle piece in this frozen mystery? The Dyatlov Pass is more than a case file. It's a monument to 9 lives lost, 9 futures never lived, and the quiet agony of those left behind. Yuri Yudin died in 2013. He never found closure, but his final words echo like a prayer or a warning. The truth is out there, but maybe it's not for us to know. Days passed. The families, worried sick, demanded action. On February 20th, a full-blown rescue operation was launched. Volunteers, soldiers, even helicopters were sent into the wild. Then, on February 26th, they found it, the tent, half buried in snow, torn open from the inside. There were no signs of an avalanche. The hikers had cut their way out, barefoot and in freezing temperatures. 8 or 9 sets of footprints, leading away from the tent, calm, orderly, not panicked. They followed the tracks down the slope. About 1.5 kilometers away, beneath a cedar tree, they found the first 2 bodies. Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonishenko, barefoot, wearing only underwear, burns on their bodies, their hands shredded as if they'd climbed the tree in desperation. And nearby, the remains of a campfire. Had they tried to survive the cold? A few hundred meters away, 3 more bodies were found. Igor Dyatlov, the leader, Zina Kolmogorova, Rustem Slobodin, each died on their way back to the tent, faces frozen in pain. But that wasn't the worst. It took 2 more months to find the last 4. In a snow-covered ravine, beneath 4 meters of snow, they lay. Dubinina, her ribs broken, her eyes gone, her tongue missing. Zolotaryov, massive chest trauma, like a car crash. But here's what terrified the investigators. No external wounds, no bruising. It was as if something crushed them from the inside. Not one scratch outside. What kind of force does that? And so, 9 lives vanished beneath the frozen silence of Dyatlov Pass. No one truly knows what happened that night, but one thing is certain. They were running from something they couldn't outrun. Classified documents, radioactive clothing, a missing tongue, a camera with one last frame, and a mystery that refuses to die. This was just the beginning. The deeper truths, the forbidden files, the suppressed testimonies, and a shocking modern discovery all await in part 2. But I won't tell that story unless you ask for it. So tell me, do you want to go deeper into the Dyatlov mystery? Comment below. Share this with someone who loves a chilling true story. And don't forget to subscribe to Starkon Studio, where every shadow has a story.